This is part 2 of Blade's story. I will leave a link in the first comment that leads to a playlist of all the previous and upcoming parts of this series. And now enjoy watching. Later, the advanced class has another practical lesson, and 2 of Blade's classmates have a sparring session with him. Blade dodges their attacks, but he is unstimulated and doesn't keep his eye on his opponents. Ernest notices this and rebukes him for not drawing his sword. He comments that she looks different, which makes Ernest blush, but after deep thinking, he didn't notice her new hairstyle. Ernest asks Blade to keep an eye on Sophie, who practices alone. She informs him that she has always been that way despite obeying any command she's given, and her first time making a spontaneous action was when she voluntarily told Blade her name. Blade reintroduces himself and informs her of his intention to watch over her training. Sophie asks if that is a command, which takes him off guard. He composes himself and tells her that he came over because he just wants to help her. She informs him that she can only use her fists, which is the only way she was taught. Blade draws his sword, informing her that he will teach her how to use it. He prepares to show her but is unable to start as the bell for the next session rings. Blade complains and Ernest tells him that he took too long to break the ice. Later, Sophie and Blade meet at the training grounds at their free time, where Sophie struggles to cut through armor. Blade instructs her to channel her fighting spirit into her sword, which she eventually learns to use. By the evening, she can handle the blade with ease, slicing through multiple sets of armor. Blade is impressed by Sophie's quick learning and suggests they call it a day. Sophie asks Blade if she's strong enough to beat Ernest, but he isn't sure. She throws Blade's sword back at him, using her traditional fighting style to subdue him. Sophie hints that she's more comfortable with her way and respects it. Blade has a wellness check with the King Gilgamesh, who informs him that he made some friends, making the principal happy. Gilgamesh wants to know who his friend is, and he names Sophie. The king comments that he suspected Blade would take an interest in her, and he reveals that the goal was for her completed form to surpass Blade, the great hero. Blade is confused and Gilgamesh states that he thought that Blade knew about the artificial great hero project, which made him befriend Sophie. It's a theory proposed by a group to create a being like the great hero, using ancient forbidden knowledge. They took a human with aptitude as a template and tried to artificially manifest the great hero's powers. Then they duplicated the original human for further experiments and adjustments. Gilgamesh reveals that Sophie is the 12th clone of the original human. He adds that she was treated as an object for experiments for a long time. Then Blade shouts in anger, thinking that experiments are still ongoing. But Gilgamesh calms him down, revealing that he put an end to that organization. And when he met her, he told her that she is free. Later, Blade feels guilty, as he is the reason for her miserable life. Then he tries to find out what normal is, and went asking everyone, until it's concluded that the normal life is to have a date with someone. Then decides to ask Sophie on a date. Then he goes to the girls' changing rooms to ask her out. Blade sets up a very precise agenda for their day, but in the background, Ernest and the girls are spying on them, which they become close friends to Ernest. Ernest is jealous of Blade and Sophie, linking hands as they walk around town. They play in an arcade, which they destroy one of the machines. They go to the beach to feed the fish, and the girls spy on them from under the water. Then they share a drink with a couple drinking straw. Then they get close to each other, cheek to cheek, which throws Blade of his chair, as his stone heart bounded faster, which makes Ernest panicky, allowing the couple to leave their sights. When it seems like they won't make their next activity on the schedule, Sophie grabs his hand and they dash across the city. They take a seat at a fountain, and the girls have called it a day and stopped following them. Sophie lets him know that she had a good time, and this makes Blade blush. However, she wants to know why he went through all the trouble, and he reveals that he did it because they are friends, and she heard that friends don't keep secrets from each other. With that in mind, she confesses that she is a test subject, created to be an artificial hero. The girl demonstrates the ability to manipulate the laws of physics, but since she is incomplete, she can't control it, and the same goes for gravity and time manipulation, and she can only manifest the powers for 10 seconds. Sophie also reveals that she's the 12th clone, who was the closest thing to a success. Blade decides to reveal his secret, as he's the great hero, but that is what they used to call him before he lost those powers. This shocks Sophie, but she admits that something about him felt familiar. He apologizes for everything she went through, knowing that this is not something that an apology and forgiveness can fix, as he is the reason she was forced to have this cursed powers. Blade explains that being the great hero wasn't something he asked for, however he accepted it because they said he could save everyone, so he fought from the age of 3, when his powers first manifested. The constant lingering between life and death, as well as the people berating him when he couldn't save a person, took a toll on him. Sophie sees that he's upset and rushes to comfort him. She reveals that after being saved by the king, she traveled the country to find who she was, and this led to countless encounters with villages and towns that hailed the great hero. She assures him that he did a good job and should be proud of himself, but he finds it difficult to see things that way. Sophie informs him that she takes pride in the fact that she was created to be an artificial great hero, and she hopes to be like him someday. Hearing those words gives him hope, so he informs her that he will not let his past as the great hero affect his future. The two hold hands as the secret of Blade being the great hero is something that binds them together. And that's the end of the video. Please tell me your opinion and like the video. Take care, and stay tuned for the next episode.